We're not the suits that talk football. We're the dudes that know football. And you've just crossed over into the trend zone. Dave here with Casey. We are the football dudes. Are you ready, brother?
Gobble, gobble. Hey, that means yes.
It's an area which we call the trend zone. It is Tuesday, November 21st, and we're coming at you from Los Angeles, California. It is a beautiful 65 degrees here in Santa Monica, Casey. In today's episode, we'll talk about the injury bug that keeps on biting the Steelers, making in-season change, and some of the most awesome games. In fact, all of the
Yeah,
awesome games coming up in the NFL this
that's
week.
right.
Before we get that all going, Casey, we got to spring out some tasty nugs for the people. What you got?
Oh, just 10 of the 12 games were within one score in the fourth quarter in week 11. 8 games decided by one score. And overall, Dave, this season, 70% of the games have been within one score in the
Insane.
fourth quarter.
Yeah. As a Charger fan, that is my life. All right. But I digress. The Trend Zone is now available for download and subscription on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. Oh, also on Amazon Music, Casey. Let's
I
move it
like it.
along to the top trending stories. Get it started. A recidivist offender is going to pay a price.
Yeah, Kareem Jackson, excuse me, suspended for 4 games. The Denver Bronco. He's had panache for headhunting,
Whew.
and he'd already been suspended once this season, and they cut it down to 2 games. You would think he would learn. He did not. Coming off another brutal hit. This time they're hitting him with 4. And, it seems like it's not going to matter to him again. We'll see what the suspension is next time. But NFL is working as hard as they can to get those headshots out of the game, and this guy just doesn't seem to get it. So
Yeah, no doubt.
sit him
No, I don't
down.
think there's a lot of gray area in the hits that we've seen. He's he's an egregious repeat offender. So
Yeah.
he definitely is deserving of this particular suspension. So
And there's no benefit of doubt with this guy anymore. You know what I mean? I know sometimes it's a bang bang play,
it
but this
always
guy's
is.
resume says that this is in his arsenal and needs
Got
to
to
stop.
change it up. Got to figure out a way to do it differently. All right, Casey, moving along. Blame Canada.
I'm not your buddy,
Bri-
friend.
Not your
You
pal, buddy.
it's gotten bad when the Steelers do make an in-season change. It had been I think since 1941 since they had done that, so it's been a
Wow.
minute, but the Steelers announced offensive coordinator Matt Canada would be relieved of his duties. Tomlin, real quick, I appreciate Matt's hard work and dedication. I wish him the best moving forward in his career. That's it. And it said he didn't even tell the players. It was done before he let those guys know. So it's hard to argue with that. They've been outgained in every game,
Mhm.
28th in yards per game, 30th in yards, 28 in points. So what are you going to do, man? 13 touchdowns for
Yeah,
Pickett and
yeah,
13 interceptions. So
yeah.
something had to change.
Something had to change, Casey. No doubt about it. I've been talking about that Steelers offense and their ineptness all season long, despite the fact that they have a winning record at this point in time. All right, Case. The Colts have moved on from what was once a premier player.
Yeah, Shaq Leonard, 2018 second round pick, former first team All Pro. They're letting him go. The
Yeah.
price tag and the amount of injuries piling up. They thought it was time to cut bait on him. I think he's still got some left in the tank, maybe just not for the money there. So he's released. He'll have to clear waivers. And I think he probably will. I don't think anybody's going to jump up this late in the season to eat that contract. So if he does clear waivers, he'll get his choice of teams of where he wants to go. And with any player that's released, there's always speculation that it's going to be the Cowboys, but
Of
he
course.
does have the history with Gilly there just last year, actually, so maybe Stefan will put the word out and you bring Shaq Leonard there, Cowboys, losing Van Der Esch for the year and maybe permanently. This could be a good fit for the rest of the season, and who knows moving forward.
I wonder if there's any offset language in the contract because why wouldn't you just continue to have the player play for the Colts rather than cut him. Maybe they're looking to sort of have somebody, even if they don't assume the contract by picking him up off waivers, maybe there's some offset language that they could get a couple of million back or something. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, well, we'll find out pretty soon on that for sure.
I imagine so. No
Yeah.
question. That kind of name doesn't just go unclaimed for sure. All right, next up, Casey. Very disappointing news for the Niners.
Yeah, Talanoa Hufunga, the big time safety for the Niners. He's done for the year. He got a torn ACL last week. He's a major part of that defense, an ascending young star in this league. So he'll be next man up there, and we'll get in that a little bit later when we look at the Niners game. But a tremendous loss for that 49ers defense.
No question about it, Casey. Moving on, considering uh, Ravens have a player or one of their birds with a bum talon.
Yeah, dude. And it's unfortunate for those Ravens. Mark Andrews, he's going to undergo surgery on the ankle. And that's probably going to be it unless they make it to the Super Bowl. And I think it's probably still it. That's a tough loss for this Ravens offense. He's Lamar's main go-to guy. They have a couple tight ends that they like, and we'll get to that when we look at this Ravens game too. But that might mean more targets for the receiving corps. So definitely some fantasy implications on this. But the bigger thing is just a total bummer for Mark Andrews. He's a
Yeah,
former Sooner, a tremendous star in this league and a big
no
part of
question.
the Ravens' identity. So just
Yeah,
it's a bummer, but it's this, it's the hip drop tackle. It's getting a lot. There's a lot of talk about it. If they get this out of the game, I don't know how you get it out of the game.
yeah. It's I don't see how. I mean, obviously they've legislated a lot out of the game, but this one's a pretty tricky deal. No
Mhm.
question about it. It's hard to bring a dude like Andrews down, you
Yeah.
know,
But
and
we
he'll
saw
do
it,
it.
just a couple plays later, it happened to Lamar. And when
Right.
you watch it in the games, you're always worried when they crumple on those legs. There's a lot of
Yeah.
times,
Well,
it
these
is
guys aren't going
painful.
down easy. It's like
No.
you got to bring them down.
Yeah.
So
And it is tackle football. So
yeah,
I don't know what they're going to do moving forward, but probably, who knows?
yeah. It's a huge loss. He's like you said, the go-to guy for Lamar without a doubt.
Yeah.
And yeah, rarely does that kind of thing happen. Heading into a Charger game, but we probably won't take advantage of it. Okay, moving Casey along to what the people come here for, what they gather around for. It's the game previews as we cover every single game in detail here, heading into Week 12 of the NFL schedule.
Wait, what?
Yeah, so we're heading into Week 12 of the NFL schedule.
Week 12?
Yes, sir.
It's slipping away.
It is. I tell you, man. When we hit the signpost up ahead says Thanksgiving games. Whew, we're
At least we get
definitely
a
moving
little
along.
extra treat on Friday. We'll get to that first. But Dave, let me go ahead and get it started with the morning game on Thanksgiving. It's the Green Bay Packers at the Detroit Lions. And those Lions are 7.5 point favorites at home.
Yeah, and the Packers coming off a big win at home versus the Chargers, 23-20. To get their record up to 4-6 for the second straight week. Jordan Love set a career high in passing 2 weeks ago. It was 289 and 2 touchdowns. Last week, 322 and 2 touchdowns, including the game winner, a 24-yard TD to Romeo Dobbs with just 2:38 left on the clock. And with the game on the line, packed down by 4, Love led a 6-play, 75-yard drive to take the lead. It was a much needed win for a team that had lost 5 of the last 6 to get them in the right column there. The Lions needed a rally from a couple of scores down against the Bears to get a 31-26 win and get their record up to an impressive 8-2, threatening for that number 1 overall seed.
Mm-hmm.
Down by 12 to the Bears with just 4:20 on the clock. The Lions 12 with 4:20
420.
on the clock.
Hey. Oh, I thought that was
Hey,
you going to say the 420. Hey, come on.
Lions went 6 plays, 75 yards in just a minute 16, cut the deficit to 5. They followed that up with an 11-play, 73-yard, scored the go-ahead TD, 2 points. Oh, and they finished the game with a safety for good measure to score 17 points in the final 4:20 of the
Hey.
game. What a comeback. Unbelievable. The Pack are playing better, but the Lions are one of the best and hottest teams in the NFL.
Yeah, there's so much to be stoked about for the Lions team. And, I think everybody has a little love for them, besides maybe if your team is in the NFC North, but it's a
Right.
fun story to watch. And they're definitely going to be contenders down the stretch.
Yeah, they're an exciting team to watch, and a fan base that it has been woefully, in need of an exciting team to
Starving.
watch. Right.
Absolutely.
All right, up next, Casey. It is the Washington Commanders at your Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys at home favored by 10.5.
Yeah, the FT's coming off a weird and embarrassing performance against the Giants. Held the Giants without a rushing yard in the first half, 5 sacks in the first quarter, and 9 overall. And the Durs, that's what I'm calling them now, Dave. The Durs. They ran 23 more plays than the Giants and had 111 more yards. How did they lose, you might ask? 6 FT turnovers, Sam Howell, 3 interceptions. Also, terrible pass defense when DeVito wasn't getting sacked, dude. 18 to 26, 246, and 3 touchdowns. In comparison, dude, this cat had 86 yards total against the Cowboys just a
Wow.
week earlier, man. So Dak should have a monster day against that Durs defense. Cowboys ranked blah, 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 fifth ranked pass offense, second in points per game at over 30. Tony Pollard coming off his best game since week 2. He had 12 carries for 61 yards. That's over 5 a carry and a rushing TD. It feels like the offensive line, it's finally rounding into shape for the Cowboys.
Oh
Everybody's getting
yeah.
healthy and they're getting that cohesion. Saw Terrence Steele looking a lot more like he did pre-injury. And this is back-to-back games that O-line hasn't allowed a sack. So I mentioned Dak should shred this defense. He's been playing outstanding football, Dave. His last 4 games, 105 out of 148. That's 71% completions, 1,271 yards, 13 touchdowns to just 2 interceptions. He's also mixed in some timely runs, but he's also using his legs to move and get out of trouble. That's been a huge difference here.
Yeah.
And you know, the red zone offense up to almost 70% their last 3 games. So that was kind of holding them back early in the season. It looks like they're kind of figuring that thing out, and that's good news for the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Defense, blah blah blah. Michael Parsons, blah blah blah. Deron Bland. Expect the boys to hassle Howell heavily. Come on,
a
alliteration. You
lot
know
of
I love it, Dave. You know
a
I
whole
love it.
lot of alliteration there.
Dude, Howell has been sacked at least 3 times in 10 of the 11 games they've played this year. That's 51 on the season. Add in 12 interceptions and 2 fumbles. And a lot of the FT Nation wants the FTs to lose out. So Rivera is sure to be fired. The players
Wow.
don't think like that. And they would love to ruin Dallas's Thanksgiving. If the boys play clean, they will smoke these jive turkeys. Cowboys have won 12 in a row at home. And if they have any hope at catching the Eagles, they can't drop a game like this. Oh, and Dolly Parton is performing at halftime. How about that?
Fantastic. I'm just looking for uh, Bland to get spicier even and get that fifth touchdown return on a pick, baby. That one will blow my
Oh,
mind.
that will be epic, dude. Guys balling.
All right, up next, San Francisco 49ers at the Seahawks. The 49ers on the road in Seattle are favored by 6.5.
Dave, these Niners are back. If you ask me, they are the best team in football.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they did lose the safety Hufanga with the torn ACL. He is done for the year, but Ricky Jair Brown starting in place of Hufanga. He came in last week and got an interception. So they are going to miss Hufanga, but luckily the 49ers, they also have Fred Warner and Nick Bosa and Chase Young and Eric Armstead. Yeah, you get it. Fifth in total defense, third
Yeah.
versus the run, first in scoring D at 15.7 per game. Oh, offensively, CMC's leading the league in rushing by almost 150 yards, dude, and leads all back in receiving yards too. What else? Oh, yeah, he leads the league in touchdowns with 14. And then Brock Purdy last week, 21 to 25, 333 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a passer rating of 158.3, the highest possible mark. You're going to have to play such a clean game to beat these guys. Tell me how the Seahawks can hang in this one, Dave.
Yeah. I don't know if they can, but we'll see. They're going to go for it here, and the 12s might help. But the Seahawks dropped last week's game to division rival LA Rams,
How?
and as a result, dropped into second place out of that tie that they were holding on to in the NFC West, a game back of San Francisco. It makes it even more pivotal if they want to have a chance to win this division. Obviously, the Seahawks were winning last week 13-0 and 16-7 before letting the game slip away, scoring only 3 second half points and giving up 10 unanswered in the fourth quarter of the Rams. Adding injury to insult, Geno Smith got banged up and missed some time, and Kenneth Walker got knocked out of the game in the first quarter. So, as you well know,
Yeah.
fantasy fans, right? And Geno, in his timeout, um, Drew Lock was like 2 for 6 and basically lost the game for them. But that is a side issue. All that being said, the Seahawks rallied late and had a chance to win the football game, only to have Jason Myers miss a 55-yarder in the waning seconds. He did make a couple of 50-yarders, but he missed the game winner.
I thought they screwed that last sequence up and were too nonchalant
Yep.
on that third down play. They just ran a little thing to get the ball. Let's hit an
55
out.
yards, man, just
Yeah.
because he made
Spike
two
it,
of them
get an out.
already.
Yeah.
You got to get closer. You got to make that a better than 50-50 shot,
Yeah.
which is what I don't know, whatever you want to call it, a 50-plus yarder. I don't think those are high percentage,
Mm-mm.
Pete Carroll, though, said Geno Smith was, wasn't sure if he was going to play this week against the Niners. We'll see. He has no idea on the availability. It sounds like we'll see how it goes. Sounds like they don't want Drew Lock to start this football game, right? And Kenneth Walker, he had an oblique suffered like strain there, and that thing was pretty gnarly. They said he could barely move, he could barely walk around, and obviously he did not return to that football game. It will be Zach Charbonnet getting the lion's share of the load there if Walker cannot go, and that's a really nice 1-2 punch that you'd love to have handy in such an important football game.
Yeah, that's a lot. If Walker can't go, to put on the rookie Charbonnet's
Yep.
plate going up against that Niners defense might be a little bit tricky.
Tricky indeed.
Dave, here's a little tasty treat. You're in your little tryptophan coma on Friday. Oh, a little Black Friday football. Okay, I'm in. We're talking the Miami Dolphins at the New York Jets, and those Finns are 9.5-point favorites on the road.
Yeah, I'll start it off with the Dolphins. They held off a Raiders comeback last week to get a 20-13 win and bring their record to 7-3, a game and a half lead over the Buffalo Bills. Tua passed for 325 and 2 touchdowns, although a pick. Tyreek Hill had 10 receptions, 146 yards, and a TD in that one. Unfortunately, the return of Devin Achane was very short-lived as he re-aggravated that knee and had to leave the game. Also, Mekhi Becton injured, and he'll have an MRI, but that's on the Dolphins side of the equation. Moving along to the Dolphins, they continue to lead the NFL. Excuse me. The Dolphins continue to lead the NFL in total offense at 434 yards a game and scoring offense at over 30 yards a game. And Tyreek Hill leads the NFL with 1,222 receiving yards. That's 9 receiving touchdowns this season. At this current pace of 122.2 per game, he'll exceed his 2,000-yard mark as he claimed he would at 2,077 plus yards on the
Wow.
season. First ever to do that one, right? Defense a little bit below average. His worst category, though, is points given up, where they're 23rd, tied actually unbelievably with the Chargers at just under 24 points a game. They are good at getting after the quarterback, though, tied for 8th with 31 sacks. The 4 and 6 Jets continue to be futile offensively. They are negative 54 in the points differential.
Ugh.
They went 0 for 11 on third downs in Sunday's loss to the Bills. 10 games into the season, they're under 23% on third downs, the lowest for any team since 1991 when they started keeping track of the stat. So that's pretty bad.
Ugh.
This led to the benching of Zach Wilson. He's now third string behind Tim Boyle and Trevor Siemian. Boyle's 0-3 as a starter, and it looks like he may drop another game with a Week 12 start against the Dolphins. So Jets defense is pretty good. Unfortunately, they're not very good against the run. They're 30th against the run, and it seems like a very tall order for the Jets defense to slow down that Miami offense and for the Jets offense to put enough points on the board to make any kind of game of this thing. But we do have football on Black Friday.
Yeah, kind of. There'll be There'll be some college games that might be a little bit more fun to watch than this one. They
Yes.
Amazon dreamed, oh, we have Aaron Rodgers, first Black Friday game. Dolphins are
Hmm.
fun to watch though. I mean, and it's like you said, it's football.
It's it's tasty, and supplement that with some college, and we're
Yeah,
in good shape.
that's right.
All right, moving along to the early slot on Sunday, Casey. The New Orleans Saints are at the Falcons. Falcons are at home, favored by one. This one kind of went back and forth a little bit. It's kind of it was virtually a pick 'em, but should be a good football game in terms of competitiveness.
Yeah, the Falcons made the move back to Desmond Ritter as QB1. Heineke had been inserted as the starter, but he got hurt. So, without injury, it's probably going to be Ritter for the rest of the season. And he's
Yep.
been pretty good, just too many turnovers, 6 interceptions, 7 fumbles. If he can limit those, then there's no reason the Falcons can't stay in the mix. Just a game back. And they're finally getting Bijan more involved. In week 10, he saw a career high in touches, 22 carries for 95 yards and a TD, but only 2 targets in week 10 and only 3 catches in his last 4 games. Dude, they got to find a way to get him more involved in the pass game.
Yeah.
It's something that he was really good at in college. So, and it could be a huge part of their offensive scheme overall. The Falcons kind of middle of the road, but a very manageable schedule, including another game against these Saints to
Mm,
finish the regular season. So it's probably the South or bust for the Dirty Bird playoff dreams, but they got a shot.
they do. So, and was moving over to the Saints, coming off their bye. But before that, they took a 27-19 loss to the Vikings at 5-5. The Saints sit alone on top of the NFC South, but just one game in front of both the Bucks and the Falcons, which just makes this sort of a de facto game for first place. Last game, Derek Carr was concussed, and he still remains in the concussion protocol as of Monday. They haven't cleared him yet. I don't believe as of today either. He'll have to be cleared to practice and then see how he responds to the extra work to see if he can go. Otherwise, it'll be Jameis Winston again, who actually had 2 touchdown passes in relief in their last outing there. Kamara has played better and had 75 yards in that game. Chris Olave had 94 yards and a touchdown in their last outing. So defensively, the Saints has been very solid all season, 8th in total yards versus the pass, and in points given up at just under 20 points a game. We're also 5th on third down, but if they are weak, it's in stopping the run, which is probably what the Falcons are going to want to do in this football game.
Mm-hmm.
So it should be a matchup where we see, the Falcons have some uh, advantage there where they can try and attack.
Yeah, it's a nice 1-2 punch with Algier and Bijan. So
For
this is a
sure.
big game. So hopefully those guys play it. It's a little worrisome that Carr is still in the
Yes.
concussion protocol after the full bye week.
Right. We're talking 10 days later.
Yeah, hopefully that works out for him. But
Yeah.
that is going to be a good game. All right, Dave. I don't know if this is going to be a good game or not, but it sounds good in theory. We got the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Cincinnati Bengals, and these Steelers are 1-point favorites on the road. Now Canada free.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously, the point spread is influenced by the lack of a certain Joe Burrow on the Bengals. But let's go Steelers here, Casey. 6-4 Steelers coming off a 13-10 loss to the Browns last week, um, and facing a rookie quarterback. Pittsburgh has a winning record despite, and we talked a little bit about the top. You stole my thunder a little bit, Casey. This is my gig, right? They have a winning record despite being negative 29 in points differential and being outgained every single week yardage wise in the season.
Ugh.
Last week, the Steelers finally paid the price for relying on turnovers and a few timely plays late to win the game. And obviously, Matt Canada also paid the price as he was fired. It looks like quarterbacks coach Mike Sullivan or running backs coach Eddie Faulkner or some combination thereof will be assuming the duties there at the OC. They have kind of left that a little blank, I think, intentionally. Pittsburgh statistically, I just mentioned how bad they are offensively. They're bad defensively too, aside from the turnovers that they have created and the sacks that they're able to get. They are 29th on offense, 29th in yards and 28th in points. You mentioned that earlier. And ranking um, 31st in passing and 16th in rushing. So they are not good on that side of the ball, which is why the departure of Canada. They have gotten the running game going lately, though. Last
Yeah.
week, Warren rushed for 129 yards, career high, and a touchdown. And he had just 9 carries, so it was an over a 14-yard average. So obviously, there's good news, bad news there. They got the explosive run play, but the rest of them weren't all that great. You know, on defense, 27th in yards, 23rd versus a pass, 23rd versus a run. The good news is they hold teams out of the end zone. They're 7th in points given up.
Well,
And they're tied for second in takeaways with 19 and number one in the turnover ratio at plus 11. Turnovers go a long way, but that's what they were relying on kind of to get their W's really thus far this season. We'll see if the firing of Canada has a positive effect on that frustrating offense for the Steelers.
yeah, I got a good news, bad news scenario over here with these Bengals too. The good news, Cincy 5-5 and have 3 of their 7 remaining games against AFC North teams,
Mm.
but they're also behind the 5-5 Colts, Raiders, and Bills, and the 7 other playoff teams. More bad news. Hi, I got a little friend back there. Nice. Um, the Bengals 0-3 in their division, 1-5 in the AFC. This is a must win for the Steelers, but the rest of their games are all must wins. So I just don't see a path to the playoffs for these Bengals, especially without Joe Burrow. It
Yeah.
was going to be damn near impossible with him. And now the best I think they can do is play spoiler for some of these other teams unless Jake Browning is about to go on an unbelievable run, which I doubt. Speaking of runs, since he's not very good against it, 31st out of 32 teams. You
Mm.
mentioned the Steelers getting it going a little bit. This could be a long day for them kitty cats.
Oh boy, I'll tell you what. That's going to be an interesting game to say the least.
Yeah.
All
That's
right.
it's never good. Hey, what do you like think about my new song? It's interesting. What do you think about this outfit? It's interesting. What do you think about this game? It's interesting.
Interesting. All right. Let's go with the next game on the schedule, shall we? It is the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Houston Texans. This is a close one. Jags are on the road, favored by just one.
Yeah, go ahead and raise your hand if you had this Week 12 matchup between the Jags and the Texans as a battle for first place in the AFC South. Not I, said the dude. Not he, said the dude. Man, maybe the best story in all of football, though, is quarterback CJ Stroud, the favorite for, offensive rookie player of the year and a legitimate MVP candidate as of now.
Wow.
If the
Wow.
Texans can take care of the football, they destroyed the Cards last week. 5 possessions in Cardinal territory and 0 points. A missed field goal and 3 interceptions. That will get cleaned up. Trust me on that. The interceptions very out of character for Stroud. Wasn't what isn't out of character is him hooking up with Tank Dell. That's been a very prolific rookie combo. Last week, Dell 8 for 149 and a touchdown. That's his third 100-yard receiving game of the season. And they've connected for 42 catches and 659 yards and 6 touchdowns. Devin Singletary out of nowhere. He sparked the run game for these Texans. Back to
Big
back
time.
100-yard run games for him. Defense, clutch down the stretch last week. Rookie Will Anderson says about rookie head coach D'Amico Ryans, we love playing for this dude. And it shows the way they ball out. A lot, dude. I mean, a lot of young playmakers on both sides of the ball for these Texans. Let's see how they respond to their biggest test of the season with the most on the line. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, this is definitely, like you said, we didn't see this coming at the beginning of the year, but this is one of the big games this weekend. The
Mhm.
7-3 Jags. We're on a 5-game winning streak before getting blown out a couple of weeks ago by the Niners. They got back on track last week, dominating the Titans 34-14, and they're still in first place in the AFC South, but just that 1-game lead over Houston, again, making this kind of a first place game here.
And Houston already beat them once.
Hello. So that would put them in first place. Last week, Trevor Lawrence completed 75% of his 32 passes for 262 and 2 touchdowns, a season high 119.5 quarterback rating, and rushed for 2 touchdowns. Calvin Ridley had a phenomenal day, 7 catches, 103 yards, and 2 touchdowns last week. Overall, Jacksonville offensively is just a little bit above average in all the major stats, and their defense is 19th in yards. They're fourth against the run, tied for 11th in points, but at just over 20 a game. They're excellent on third down. Always sounds great, right? But they're not as good at defending the pass, ranking just 29th,
Oh.
ranking the pass. That is a weakness that may come into play the way CJ Stroud has been lighting it up. Who would think that CJ Stroud, a rookie quarterback, could be the guy shredding this Jaguars defense to make this thing a real fun football game?
And Trevor Lawrence, he's still making those catastrophic mistakes, and it's
Once in a while.
costing him against the teams like San Francisco and some of the bigger. He's getting away with it in some of these games. I don't think he can get away with that in this game.
Whew. It's going to be fun.
Oh
All right,
yeah.
up next, Casey, Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Indianapolis Colts. Colts at home, favored by 2.5.
Yeah, another loss for the Bucks, and they're kind of looking at next year. I don't want to kill their season yet, but
Right.
I would hope that they stick with Baker and give him another shot. But dude, this could be a whole new coaching staff down there. Who knows what the future of the Bucks is? They got a lot of aging veterans on both sides of that team. So it could be
Yeah.
a whole new look from top to bottom. But for these Colts, man, they are just outside the mix in the AFC. They won 2 in a row before their bye, and they have 2 divisional games left and 5 out of 6 games versus AFC opponents. So it's all right there for them, man. The 1-2 punch with Taylor and Moss is looking sweet in the backfield. If the porn stash Minshew can just eliminate his turnovers,
Hmm.
these Colts could be a factor in the playoffs, dude.
That is fascinating. At 5-5, they're just sitting there, and the Minshew magic is it's fun. It's
Yeah,
fun to root for the. And like I said, yeah, he does make catastrophic errors, but he makes plays too. He's a
yeah,
gamer, and it's fun to watch that.
absolutely.
All right, up next, the New England Patriots are at the New York Giants. A Patriots are 3.5 point favorites on the road. And this, Casey, is a rematch of 2 Super Bowls, of course. Super Bowl 42, Manning and the Giants ruined New England's perfect season. Most memorable play in that one, Tyree with the helmet catch on third down. It was pinned to his helmet as he hit the ground. 32-yard first down conversion. And then they followed that up 4 years later in Super Bowl 46, beating the Pats 21-17. I think it was a nice sack of Brady or something late of that one that made it good. In both cases, the Giants defense played a really nice role.
And dude, if Asante Samuel Sr. gets that pick, that Tyree
Oh,
play never happens right through his damn hands. Perfect season. Slips through. And Dave, if
woo.
I hadn't seen those games, I would not believe you that these teams were in the Super Bowl. I would say, no way. I don't believe it. You are lying, my friend. But
Right.
they were there. But I guess life is just different with a Hall of Fame quarterback. A little easier to win. Yeah. But the Giants did win last week and they were looking much better. And the Pats, they didn't lose last week, but mainly because they were on a bye.
Convenient.
We don't know who's going to play quarterback. It could be Jones, it could be Zappy, or it could be Greer. I think it's going to be Greer. Why not? You kind of know what you have in both of those other guys.
Yeah.
Season's gone to hell, anyways. Let Will Greer get out there and rip it. Super Bowl rematch. This will not be confused for.
No doubt about it. Yeah,
All
both
right.
these teams uh, fumbling around at the quarterback position right now, right?
Yeah. What did the Giants do? Moving forward, Daniel Jones, he had his surgery this week. That's 8 to 10, months.
Hmm.
They got a lot of money invested in him, but
Yeah.
if they get Caleb Williams up there, it's going to
Woo!
be hard not to
That's
draft
right.
a
If one of
quarterback.
these teams, I mean, you got to look at those, how the draft shakes out between. I mean, there are a lot of things that can happen between now and then, but man, oh man, the temptation to bring in somebody new and start fresh.
Yeah, winning games doesn't help either of these teams. All right, Dave, let's go ahead and move this thing forward. It is the Carolina Panthers at the Tennessee Titans, and the Titans are 3.5 point favorites at home.
Yeah, the 1-9 Panthers have struggled mightily all season in Frank Reich's first and maybe last season coaching the team. The top overall selection quarterback, Bryce Young, who passed for 123 yards and a touchdown last week in a blowout loss to the Cowboys. It's hard to find much to get excited for at this point in the season for the Panthers. They don't even have the top draft pick
Ugh.
that they may very well earn due to the fact that they traded that away to acquire Bryce Young, who seems too small to play NFL football. Now I mean, uh, obviously it's too soon, to judge. But the way things have gone so far, it has been very, very disappointing.
The
Um,
hits that this cat is taking are taking years off his life. I mean,
yeah,
it's some of the most brutal hits. This like Rob Johnson style back in the
right.
day, the Buffalo quarterback. It's just
Brutal. Yeah,
oh
finding a way to get like unbelievably ragdolled,
yeah.
and he's just not that big. And we've seen quarterbacks ruined in their first and or second year. Moving ahead, just you can't take that many hits. Moving along though, Casey, the Titans are having a similarly disappointing season at 3-7, and the 15th seed currently in the AFC's playoffs run right now.
I'm not really a
They are
numbers guy, but there's only 16 teams in each
That's right.
conference.
That points him a lot closer to the top of the draft, Casey, than it does to the playoffs. A lot closer. The most important thing now is, again, taking a look at Will Levis. What do they've got there? Despite getting blown out by the Jags last week, Levis did complete 13 of 17. That was 76.5%, a career high for him at 158 yards and 2 touchdowns, no picks. So a really nice game is what you want to see. There's some older dudes. We talked about it with the previous conversation. There's some older dudes on this roster that may or may not be there next year. And there's going to be a turnover here. I don't know if it includes the coaching staff or they have a pretty relatively new GM there. So I'm imagining that they're going to go ahead and try and find a way to reset this through the draft.
Yeah, I just you disappointing for these Titans that they were
Yep.
never able to get over the edge with even some of these great teams.
Yeah, no
That's
question about it.
football. All right, Dave, up next we have Los Angeles Rams at the Arizona Cardinals, and the Rammies are half-point favorite on the road.
Yeah, this is a rematch of a Week 6 game won by the Rams 26-9. The Rams 4-6, coming off that 17-16 comeback win over the Seahawks to complete the season sweep there and to keep their playoff hopes alive, really, ultimately. Getting quarterback Matthew Stafford back last week gave them a huge lift on the offensive side. Royce Freeman had a nice game, season high 73 rush yards last week. Unfortunately, Cooper Kupp suffered an ankle sprain. They're calling him day to day. I imagine he will play, but keep your eye on that. Um, if they want to make the playoffs, it's going to have to continue with a win this week against the Cardinals. That's for the Rams. They can't let this one get away. The Cardinals on the other side came up short 21-16 last week at Houston. It was a pretty impressive performance actually against a quality Houston team. They're 2-9 in Jonathan Gannon's first season as head coach, but they played a lot better since getting their quarterback back. Kyler Murray had 265 scrimmage yards and 2 TDs last week. And with the second worst record in the league, the Cardinals may be better off finishing off the tanking job that some suggested they initiated on draft day when they set themselves up for future success by trading for future draft picks. Don't tell Kyler that though, Casey.
Mm-mm.
He's going to play his ass off.
Yeah, I really love Kyler's game,
Yep.
and that team definitely has some more juice. They just got John Connor back as well. So,
Yes.
like I said, fan bases might want these teams to tank, but the players that are still invested, no, they're out there to try to win every game they can.
Up next, Cleveland Browns at the Denver Broncos. Broncos favored by 2.5 in this one.
Dude, and talk about a 180, for these brownies. I can't root for this team when Watson is the quarterback, but now that it's DTR, dude, that is my dude. He was much better in his second career start. He limited his mistakes and gave his team a chance to win. Very polished for a fifth round draft pick, dude. But
Might
the
have been the
guy,
decade in college.
yeah, he had 48 starts in college, man.
Yeah.
This guy is a playmaker, 47 years old, but who cares? He's got a great run game and even better defense to lean on. So this Browns defense leads the league in total defense and passing defense, is giving up less than 100 yards um, on the ground too. So they're and the way their schedule breaks out in the down the stretch here, man, these guys could be right in the mix. So I'm the Browns are making the playoffs. They have an outside chance at winning the division,
hmm
but if DTR can continue to progress, Browns are going to the playoffs.
Well, they're in position to with that record. All right, moving on to the Broncos. So, Casey, since starting the season 1-5, the Broncos are on a 4-game win streak to improve their record to 5-5. They are now second in the AFC West and just a game back of two teams that currently hold wild card spots. They've been playing a lot better, obviously, beating some good teams as part of their revival, like the Chiefs and the Bills, and most recently being the Vikings 21-20 on Sunday Night Football. Russell Wilson completed 77 plus percent of his passes in that one for 259 and a touchdown. The Broncos defense, which was historically bad early in the season, has played much better during this win streak. Creating turnovers has helped immensely as well, as the Broncos are now tied for second in the league with 19 takeaways and are +6 in the turnover differential. Now they face rookie quarterback DTR in just his third start. Like, I agree with you. We're both fans of this kid, but it's going to be a tough start for him against the Broncos defense and in Denver, where they can get pretty rowdy.
Yeah, man. It's going to be an interesting game. Maybe not a team hotter than those Denver Broncos.
Whew. Yep.
All right, Dave. Up next, we have the Kansas City Chiefs at the Las Vegas Raiders, and those Chiefs are 9.5-point favorites on the road.
Yes, and the Raiders had a 2-game win streak going as interim head coach Antonio Pierce definitely gave them a boost, but they fell short last week in a valiant effort, mind you, losing to the Dolphins 20-13 in a failed comeback attempt there right at the end. QB Aiden O'Connell passed for a career high 271 and a touchdown last week. Devontae Adams had 7 for 82 in a score. Renfro had a season high with 5 catches and 42 yards. Just the fact that that's his season high is a little disappointing because that guy can play.
Yeah.
Running back Josh Jacobs was pretty much bottled up by the Finns last week, but before that, he had several decent outings uh, since the ousting of McDaniels. Statistically speaking, though, the Raiders are not very good offensively, and on defense, the Raiders are solid versus the pass, but just 27th versus the run. Hopefully, for Raider fan, Max Crosby can get after Mahomes and make a couple of big plays in this one. That might be the difference if they want to try and steal this win.
Yeah, dude, the Chiefs gave away a game on Monday night. And even so, as of now, they do not have a go-to receiver that they can trust. Rice is
Yep.
getting closer, but he is not there yet. MVS, tough catch, but game-winning catches are supposed to be tough, and it's just you got to make that play when it presents itself.
Yep.
One of those tight games, it's not a lot of room for error. Luckily, though, their defense is great. They've been balling out, kind of keeping these Chiefs in game. But Dave, there's so much outside football things happening with these Chiefs now. Is it distracting or affecting their plays? I don't know. Mahomes had a red zone interception in the end zone last night.
Yep.
Kelsey with the red zone fumble. Those are very unchief like things that are happening. So it's hard to say if it's all the outside noise and things going on or just a little bad luck. But the perception is way different. If MVS does come down with that ball, no
Yeah.
one's worried about anything, but he didn't, So what's up with these Chiefs? In the past, we've seen that they always turn it on because they are the Chiefs, but I don't know if we can depend on that, dude. It kind of feels like it's different this year and not in a good way.
Yeah, you
So,
mentioned the 2 red zone turnovers, and caused both by Mahomes in one with a poor pass, and Kelsey just not holding on. It was a good punch out, but not holding onto the football there. No question about it. The other side, though, Casey, I will say Spags has got this defense playing better, way better than all of those Super Bowl champion uh, Chiefs teams had a defense playing. So who knows? It might be a different formula, but unfortunately, I'm not willing to say they've taken a step back yet.
not yet, but yeah.
Uh, we can hope. All right, Case. Let's move it along. It is the Buffalo Bills at the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles at home are favored by 3.5 in this one.
These Bills coming off their most dominant performance of the season. I know it was the Jets, but their 32 points were the most the Jets have given up in a game this year. And, I don't know if it was Dorsey's fault or not. They ran him. And then in this game, very balanced 38 rushes, 32 passes. Josh Allen, 3 touchdowns. But how about that Bills defense? Held the Jets to 155 total yards, 6 sacks, forced 4 turnovers, and did not allow a third down conversion through the game,
Wow.
not first quarter, second, for the complete game. And dude, how about the return on investment with Rasul Douglas? They brought him over for the Packers. He intercepted Zach Wilson in the first half. He intercepted Tim Boyle in the second half, and he recovered a fumble, dude. The Bills have 65 points off of turnovers this season. That is the most in the NFL. And dude, just a couple weeks ago on Monday night, it felt like the loss to Denver was totally devastating and was going to knock those guys out of the playoffs. It doesn't feel like that anymore, dude. What a difference a week makes. All 5 of Buffalo's losses have been by 6 points or less, man.
Wow.
And do not panic. These Bills are just outside the playoffs at the 8 seed. With a little help, they can actually still catch the Dolphins and take back control of the AFC East. If they can beat these Eagles, they're going to run into their bye week recharged and ready to make a run, not only for the division, but for the conference.
Whew, that would be a huge win, Casey. Let's talk the Eagles, though. They've won 4 straight, last beating the Chiefs 21-17 in Kansas City to bring their record up to a league best 9-1. The only blemish on the record is a stunning loss to the Jets in a absolute turnover fest. Was what was required. The Eagles are the first team since the 2005-6 Colts to begin 9-1 or better in consecutive seasons. Hurts had his 10th career game with 2+ rushing touchdowns and 2 touchdowns last week. That ties Cam Newton for most ever by a quarterback. So he's going to shatter that thing for sure. He has
Shadoobie.
35 rush TDs, most ever by a quarterback in his first 4 seasons. So obviously, he's just going to continue to extend that particular record. The Chiefs were able to hold wide receiver A.J. Brown to just 1 reception and 8 yards last week. But on the season, he's tied for second in the NFL with 1,013 receiving yards. Devontae Smith did get it going last week with 6 grabs for 99 yards, including one that set up that really short touchdown. So almost a touchdown for him. He would have had a touchdown in 3 straight games, couldn't get it in. DeAndre Swift with 107 scrimmage yards and his 4th touchdown last week. He ranks 3rd in the NFL with 690 rush yards this year. Overall, Philadelphia offense 8th in yards, 5th in points, right? Top 12 in both passing and rushing, very balanced. Number 1 on 3rd down at 48%, thanks to the brotherly shove. As we know, they're the best at it. The Eagles defense very good too, 17th in yards, number 1 versus the run, but just 28th versus a pass and 27th on 3rd down. So it should be interesting. They are good at getting after the quarterback. They're 10th in the league with 31 sacks. So, but will the will the 28th versus the pass come into play in this particular game, as we would expect Josh Allen to unleash a bunch of passes in this one, and we'll see if they can make that, you know, make that stick against this Eagles D.
Let's go, Buffalo. Need the Bills to get this win, man. I can't believe the Monday night. So, terrible. But they fought their way back in there. So it is a good team, and they're winning lots of football games. But to hell with the Eagles, Dave. I say to hell. We got
Okay.
another bird game to talk about, half of them anyways. It is the Baltimore Ravens, your Los Angeles Chargers, and the Ravens come into town 3.5-point favorites.
Yeah, and the Chargers, Casey. Woo! How can I exhale? Sigh. Their record stands at 4-6, losing to the Packers 23-20 last week after repeatedly failing to execute in the red zone. There were
Dave, you look
6.
like a battered football fan. When you started talking Chargers, you
I
started
know. I
rocking.
just started getting into my
Self-soothing.
okay. 6 dropped passes in the game. That's
Ugh.
more than any single game in this season, statistically speaking. 6 dropped, like clear drops, right, including a 4th down conversion, 2 easy touchdowns to Keenan Allen, and a likely game winner to rookie Quentin Johnston. Oh, and there was also the fumble by Eckler at the 2. So 3 red zone trips resulted in 6 points instead of 21.
That's how you lose.
And the Chargers lost another close one. For those keeping score at home, of the 6 Charger losses, 5 of them were lost by a combined 14 points. Okay.
Ugh.
So less than 3 points per game. Again, despite all the drop passes, Justin Herbert was absolutely spectacular. 260 and 2 touchdowns, a season high 73 rushing yards on 10 carries. I think every one of them was for a critical first down in that
Yeah.
game. He played, in historically speaking, he's played well on Sunday night football games at home. He's got 4 career starts on Sunday night football. He's averaged over 275 yards and a passer rating of over 100. We can hope for that to come into play this game. Keenan Allen, Casey, I say it every. He is killing it. Even though if he caught those 2 passes, it would have been an insane game. He still had 10 catches, 116 and a touchdown. His second straight game, and his 18th career game with 10 catches. 18 10-catch games in his career,
Wow.
second straight. Tied for the third most in history. He now leads the NFL with 83 catches and is fourth in receiving yards with 1,011. That's 2 yards away from, or 3 yards, I guess, technically away from second place. Again, people don't realize the season that Keenan is having because the Chargers are failing to convert those into wins. Donald Parham, a career high 57 yards last week. Stone Smart, the other tight end, his first touchdown of his career in week 11 there. So Bolts defense has been the issue, as we know. They are last in total yards and versus the pass, tied for 23rd in points given up, which actually, like I said earlier, isn't really that awful in terms of
Yeah.
points given up. The defense has actually been very effective rushing the passer, 5th in the league with 34 sacks on the season. Khalil Mack had 2 sacks last week, a forced fumble, and a pass defensed. So the defense has 15 takeaways on the season. The Chargers are +7. Again, when I go through these stats every week, and it's mind-boggling that we're 4-6. But there we are. Chargers just have to find a way not to lose a game they're supposed to be winning. We'll see if they could. Obviously, this is a tough opponent, no
Yeah.
question. No, one of the best teams in the NFL. So here's the NFL. Any given Sunday theory? Anyone?
Yeah, well, the good thing for the Chargers is these Ravens have a propensity of blowing leads in the fourth quarter. So
Right?
someone's going to give this game away. You just hope those guys are wearing purple and black. But Dave, with those Chiefs losing on Monday night for the moment, the Ravens are now the 1 seed in the AFC.
Woo!
But if they both win out, the Chiefs do hold the conference tiebreaker with them. But after the
Fascinating.
Chargers and then the Rams, the Ravens are on the road at the Jags and then at the 49ers before home games with the Finns and the Steelers. That's the third toughest remaining schedule, while other AFC contenders, the Dolphins 14th, Chiefs 19th, Jags 22nd, even the Browns in there with the 23rd easiest schedule come back. So, unfortunately, we mentioned earlier they're going to be without Mark Andrews for at least a few weeks. Harbaugh said there might be an outside chance that he could get back at some point in time. That's coach speak.
Yeah.
That's like a season-ending injury to me, but
Yeah.
I guess you hold out hope until you know that there is no hope. They do like Isaiah Likely and Charlie Kolar, dude, the tight end from Iowa State. But look for the receiving core to get more opportunities with Andrews out. OBJ had a big game versus Cincy on Thursday night. Both Bateman and Aguilar had a touchdown. But the Ravens, dude, they make their money running the football, the number 1 run team in the NFL. It's actually something the Chargers have been pretty good against lately,
Yeah.
although slowing Lamar down is a whole nother deal, dude.
It sure is.
Ravens, pretty good at defense too. Sorry. Third in total defense, second in scoring defense, giving up just about 16 points a game. And the Ravens are okay either way with a win or a loss. But a win for these Chargers will galvanize that squad, whereas a loss might totally blow this team up. This is a pivotal game for the Chargers. Like I said, not as important for the Ravens. Of course, they want to win, but I feel like the Chargers have a ton riding on this game.
Without a doubt, they have a ton riding on it, Casey. The last time Justin Herbert faced the Ravens, it was a blitz fest, and uh, our offensive line had no answers whatsoever. So we better come up with something better this time.
Well, at least there won't be a ton of Ravens fans in the stands. Oh.
Oh, it's a home game for the Chargers. Welcome, Ravens.
They just don't change the signage other than that. It's a
Other than
home.
that, all right, moving it on to Monday Night Football, Casey, where we can see the Chicago Bears at the Minnesota Vikings. Vikings at home, favored by 3.5 in this one.
Yeah, both teams coming off a disappointing losses that they almost played well enough to win. Almost. Ideally for the Bears, they keep on improving without winning games, more close losses, keep that draft pick as high as possible. The Vikes right now still the 7 seed in the NFC, even with
Wow.
that road game that they lost against those red hot Broncos. But Josh Dobbs, dude, this cat just brings juice, man. He's the type of guy that you want to root for, even not being a Vikings fan. And with their bye up next, I imagine they probably keep Justin Jefferson out of this game.
Mhm.
You shouldn't need him against the Bears. But if they get to the bye, he and Dobbs will have that whole off time to work on some chemistry. This could be a very dangerous team moving into the postseason. And if the Lions slip up just a bit, the Vikings play the Lions twice in the final 3 weeks of the season. So anything is possible. Will they catch the Lions? I don't know, but it's a fun story. And I love the way Josh Dobbs plays. And, you know, let it fall where it may. They're going to be rocking in the that Viking ship on Monday night. Someone's going to hit that big old hornpipe before the game. So,
Skull, baby.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm
should
right
be
there
fun.
with you on Dobbs, dude. Warrior career, his whole career. This it's so fun to see him get this chance right now,
Yeah.
and after languishing sort of this beginning of the season in Arizona, and suddenly he's the savior here in Minnesota. So
And, with Cousins coming off an injury, contract over
yeah,
late, Dobbs could be the guy moving forward. We have no
could open
idea.
up for him. Yep,
Yeah.
no question.
Pretty
They just got to
interesting,
watch
man.
out for uh, little crazy quarterback action from the Bears there. Keep him contained,
Hmm.
because he's got something to say too. All right,
Good
that is
stuff.
going to do it, folks. It is going to be a great week 12 in the NFL. So many ways to check out the football dudes. Trend Zone now available for subscription on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. We are also on Amazon Music, wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah, go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Like us on Instagram and Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at Football Dudes LA, and make sure you tag us across all social media platforms.
Or just head on over to footballdudes.com. It's all there for you. That is going to do it for this episode of the Trend Zone. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving and enjoy all the family food, football, fun, all the F's that are associated with this amazing holiday. Um, we're not the suits that talk football. We're the dudes that know football. For Casey, I'm Dave. We are out of here.